My name is Rhonda Mace. Some people know me as Recycle Rhonda. I am the school outreach coordinator for Chittenden Solid Waste District, where we try to find fantastical things to do with the stuff that, all the stuff that nobody wants or needs anymore. So I was asked by Echo, honored actually, invited to talk during their Take Action series. And hopefully everybody got a chance to watch the Friday video about Earth Day, which I found fascinating and learned some things as well. And then also their Take Action Citizen Science challenge, which we will talk I'll touch down on at the end. So this is my very first webinar, so bear with me on this. I am often technologically challenged. So one thing about all of this isolation and quarantine stuff is that I get to learn new skills. And anybody that knows me, I love to learn new things. But one of my many mottos is, if we aren't making mistakes, then we aren't learning. So there's bound to be some mistakes here. So I did this as a webinar thing because what we have available. And so I will take, you can question all you want in the little Q&A box at it should be at the bottom of your screen. Pop in your questions as we go along. And then as soon as I'm done yammering on here, then I will open it up and I can unmute everybody, unmute you as the questions get answered. So I'll ask the question live and unmute you if you would like to respond to my answer or have further questions. So that's how I think that we're gonna roll. I also like not just questions, but I would love to hear as we mosey along here, your plastic pollution prevention techniques as well. So today we are talking about plastic pollution prevention, all right? And that's something that I feel very strongly about because it's something that we can all be in the driver's seat over, all right? This is control that we have as consumers and users of different products. Now, today's plastic we're going to be talking about is disposable or single use or one-time only plastics, like your like drink bottles or the hummus container or whatever you've got, plastic bags. That's a big one too. I don't want to demonize plastic by any means because I find that there's a lot of uses for plastic. And as a former chemist and working in a lab, plastics has a great place, especially in the laboratory, because it's non-reactive and it doesn't break. And as you're bound to find out, I am a very clumsy person. So it was always very useful. And without plastics, we probably wouldn't have a lot of the scientific findings that we have today. So I don't want to demonize all plastic, but we are talking about single-use disposable plastics. All right, let's see if I can like advance this slide here. All right, so as National Geographic points out, like diamonds, plastics are forever. So meaning all of the plastics that have ever been created on planet Earth since probably the early 40s-ish are still in existence somewhere on the Earth. They don't like biodegrade. They do break into smaller pieces. And we hear a lot of devastating news, especially in the last year or two, about all the plastic pollution in the oceans. And although the saying is think globally, act locally, I'm gonna ask you guys to, think locally and act locally, because we have a lot of great waterways, and I live in Williston, and so, right beside Lake Champlain for the most part. So I am most concerned about my impact on Lake Champlain, and as I imagine Echo would be as well. So I like to think locally and act locally. Your actions speak volumes. And although I truly believe that one person can make a difference, I've seen it in the schools that I work in. I've seen third graders one third grader make a huge change within the community. And I'll talk about that in a bit, but I think that we as individuals do have the power to make change, but imagine the change we can make if we come together as a community, which is why I want to hear your ideas about your plastic pollution prevention techniques and things that you do in your own home. All right. The picture on the right on this particular slide is actually a picture that a friend of mine in San Diego sent to me a couple of years ago. That was a 30-minute walk on the beach in San Diego, California. And I don't want this to be, oh, devastating, there's no hope, because there is a hope. So I'm not gonna focus on the problem necessarily. I want to focus all of our attention on the solutions and what we can do to prevent all of this plastic from going into the ocean, or better yet, into Lake Champlain. This was very eye-opening to me. Working with students all through the year, they open my eyes a lot to what's going on out there too. So I'm forever indebted to them at teaching me as much as I may like to think I teach them. All right, so let's dive right into ways that we can prevent plastic pollution. And based on my name, recycling is one of those, but I want to focus on reducing, reusing first, then recycling. And I like to say the 4 R's, because when we reduce, reuse, and recycle, we actually then show the biggest respect to ourselves, to our friends, and to this fantastic earth that provides life, not just for us, but for all of the fantabulous creatures that live here. All right, so I'm gonna switch over to letting you see my shining face, or, well, you can make that call. All right, so hello. And anybody that has ever, I don't know, had the pleasure, if you will, of having me in their class or taking a workshop with me knows that I am very hands-on. I'm a very active person, so this whole talking to the computer and not interacting with people is a little weird for me, and a little difficult. So bear with me on that as well. And I will be moving around a lot because I just cannot sit still. And I like to do a lot of hands-on, which is why I thought, well, let's do this. Like many people, I am working from home, so I had to convert one of my rooms into a home office, and didn't really get around to decorating this room all that much. So there we go. All right, let's talk about reducing. So reducing just means let's make less or let's buy less, all right? I think it's one of our most powerful tools in preventing plastic pollution, because if we're not buying it, it's not going to get out there into the environment. And we have that power too, to ask those that are producing all of these goods to maybe, I don't know, change their packaging, or package in something different, or a smaller package, or something in that nature. All right, so I want to challenge you guys, and I don't know if there's any students on here, but I would like to challenge everybody, because I think it's raising awareness as well, is to today or tomorrow, count the number of plastic items that you handle within one day, or maybe even a week if you want to be super challenging. Count the number of disposable plastic items that you guys handle within a day, all right? And just take note. Or you can, if you're a geek like me, I like data, so I like to record everything. And I challenge you to cut back on one of those disposable items, all right? One of those plastic disposable items. I want to cut it out of your life. And then I want you to revisit and recount how many of those plastic items, of disposable plastic items that you use, and see if how much of a difference that makes, all right? As I said before, your actions speak louder than words, and things spread like wildfires. So your ideas, and you might come up with some more than one thing that you can cut out that's plastic, but we don't know that there's a problem until we actually visit it. All right, so some of the ways that we can reduce, or some of the ways that I reduce, is say no to the straw. You'll hear that time and time again. The plastic straws can definitely be a big issue out there. It's and actually Vermont, come July 1st this year, and we'll see, that legislation might change. We've got other things to worry about at this point, and we want to be aware of how that affects our grocers and restaurants and so on. However, as of it stands right now, come July 1st, Vermont has banned plastic bags, styrofoam carryout containers, and straws. So that's good. I worked with a school, Summit Street School, so shout out to Summit Street if anybody knows them or goes there. A couple of years ago, 2 years ago maybe, there was a third grader there doing some persuasive writing and some environmental action taking in their class. Third grader wrote Ramonto's Pizza in Williston and asked them to please stop using straws. Not only in that store, but the 2 other stores that they own and operate have stopped using straws, and they have compostable straws available upon request. A third grader, all right, made a ripple effect change within our community. So yay to you. All right, bags. That is one thing that kind of drives me a little bananas, and especially right now because we can't carry in our own bags into the grocery store. And so that's been a little hard for me to handle. However, I did get a great idea from somebody the other day, and they said, hey, we can reduce the number of bags that we're carrying out by just putting our groceries back in the cart. Wheel your unbagged groceries out to your car and bag them in your own reusable bags when you get to the car. All right, so that's one way to get around this for the moment. But, you know, cutting out plastic bags, even these produce bags, all right, I try to reuse them if I have to take them. But a couple of years ago, well, maybe about a year ago or 2 years ago, I came up with this grand idea. I had pajama pants that were a little, well, let's say I wore them out. And I was like, I don't want to get rid of these. What can I do with them? So I took the pajama pants bottoms and I made these produce bags out of them, all right? And if I can do it, anybody can. Seamstress, I am not. It took me 30 plus minutes just to sew that small portion. I mean, I sewed it by hand and a lot of pinpricks, but I got it done. And so I use these when I go to the grocery store for my produce bags. All right, so that is one way to reduce, because if we're not getting these at all, well, then we don't have to manage them whatsoever. All right, another way to reduce utensils, all right, plastic utensils, these bad boys right here for carry out and such. Some schools use these, and I totally understand why they use them, because they have a problem with kids accidentally tossing them into the trash or the compost bucket. And metal utensils are very expensive. So if students are out there, I want to challenge you to, when you head back to school in the fall, to ask your principal and your food service folks if maybe you can pilot or test out getting real utensils. But you, the students, need to take responsibility to make sure that those metal utensils end up where they're supposed to be, not in the trash, not in the compost, but in a utensil container, all right? So if we take responsibility ourselves and accountability for our actions on the end, we can get rid of the plastic utensils. Now, I was fortunate enough to go out to Colorado to do this wasted food presentation. And because I presented, they gave me these cool bamboo utensils. So I actually got 2 packs of them. So one sits in my lunch bag, so I have them at all times, all right? The other one I stuff in my car, so if I'm on the go and I'm getting to-go food, I can just use these, and they work fantastic. And they come with chopsticks as well. Not that I can use chopsticks, not that coordinated, but that's a cool way. Bamboo is a renewable resource, and these things will last for a very long time, and I don't have to toss them into the trash. Technically, I think I'd probably compost them, although I'd have to look at that afterwards. Straws, I've got a metal straw that sits in my car as well. So if I do get a to-go beverage and no straw thanks, I've got my metal straw. I'm not a big straw user, but there are occasions when you need to use it. So I just stuff it in my car. And there it is for me and my convenience. I'll have to remember to carry it around with me. Reducing, another way to reduce is to buy in bulk, or at least right now we can't buy bulk items, all right, but we will return eventually to normalcy. So I buy everything in bulk. One, it's a whole lot cheaper. 11% of a purchase price of any item is spent on packaging. 11%. All right, so if you're bringing your own packaging, like a mason jar or even just a reused yogurt container, you're cutting 11% of the cost of that product out right away, which is great. Not to mention, no new resources have to go into making those products or those packaging. All right, but you could also buy in really large quantities. So like I am a yogurt fanatic. All right, so I buy these 2-pound yogurt things. All right. And I was doing a little calculation before doing this webinar, and for the same of these single serves, all right, so 6 single serve yogurts go into making 1 giant yogurt cup. All right, the cost difference is about $1.50. So it's $1.50 more for you to buy these, and you've got 6 containers to get rid of. And I mean, you can reuse these. However, you buy 1 of these, you save $1.50, and now you got this really like nice container with a lid on it. And you can just pack your yogurts to go in little reusable cups. So we've got reduce down. Now we get into reuse, all right? And that's reusing your plastic containers. So for me, again, eat a lot of yogurts, right? And I'm like, what do I use them for? Well, this year I planted it, well, I plant it every year, but I've got a lot of seedlings. And the other day I realized my beans were getting a little out of control. So I transplanted them into, yep, you guessed it, a yogurt container. Instead of having to go out and buy plastic pots, I just used the yogurt container. Works fine for me. Or half-gallon milk jug with top cut off. That works really well too. And I can reuse these over and over again. Or when I'm done with the growing season, I can give them a little rinse-dinsel do ya, pop them in the recycle bin, and they're still recyclable. Even though I cut the top off of this milk jug, it's still recyclable. All right, let's see. Oh, another reuse. So the other day I realized I didn't have a watering jug, right? And I was like, and it's not an essential item. I can get by without it. I didn't want to go to the store and put people at risk. So I made my own, all right? And I just drilled holes into the lid of a gallon of milk jug, and it works pretty darn good, better than I expected it to. Is it perfect? No, but never mind. So that's one way to reuse as well. Let's see, reuse milk jug. Oh, so instead of packing kids' lunches or your own in plastic baggies, because essentially those plastic baggies need to go to the trash. There are recycling options, just not in your blue bin, but you'd have to rinse it out and do all of that. They're pretty pricey if you think about all the plastic baggies you would go through, all right, if you're not reusing them. So instead, take your sandwich and pack it in something reusable. And like I said, not all plastic is bad. This is reusable plastic, not recyclable in your blue bin because it's not a single-use plastic, but you can use this over and over again. I mean, this dish is probably about 4 or 5 years old. So, and every day you can pack your lunch in that. So something reusable. All right, I think that's it for my reuse. All right, so we've got reducing, we've got reusing. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is recycling. And despite my name, Recycle Rhonda, reducing and reusing are much more important than recycling. I'll be forward with you on that, because even though recycling is cool and we do save natural resources by recycling, natural resources still have to go into making products, and especially plastic. It cannot be recycled infinitely. All right, there's a lifespan or a number of times it can be recycled before new plastic has to be added to it to keep it nice and strong. All right, this is the amount of oil, non-renewable resource, that goes into making just this one plastic bottle. All right, and that's plastic bottle and shipped to the place and where it's going to get filled and then shipped someplace else to the store, and then you go pick it up and bring it home and use it for a whopping 10 minutes, if that, and then hopefully check it in the recycle bin, but some people don't. So a lot of the stuff does head to the landfill where it'll sit for, I don't know, 1,000 years, just doing a whole lot of nothing. All right, so I heat my house with oil, and although the days are getting nicer, thankfully, I'd like to conserve that non-renewable resource that we may run out of, maybe not in my lifetime, but eventually. I like to save that for heating, or maybe a trip to Florida in the wintertime where it's nice and warm and sunny. All right, so that is where plastic comes from. Now we do again have to use some oil even to recycle it, but also to make new plastic to add to the recycled plastic. Our drink bottles typically have 7% or less recycled plastic in it. So we need to kind of up the ante on that as well. And make sure that we, the people, are either demanding stuff be made out of recycled plastic, or that we ourselves are making sure that we're buying stuff made out of 50, 100% recycled materials. All right, so recycling is just taking one thing and turning it into something new. All right, so like this milk jug, you're done using it, toss it in the blue bin, all right? It gets baled up, and then it gets sold to a recycler. That recycler will take that milk jug and it'll chop it up into little flakes, all right? All right, and this is just milk jugs chopped up into little pieces. Those flakes will go get melted down, and they'll get made into little pellets like this. And I don't know how well you can see that, but they're little round beads, basically. Those beads will get sold to somebody who makes milk jugs. They'll melt those beads down, put them in a form, and pop out a milk jug so that we can, recycle or, use that and then recycle it again. That's the process, basically, of recycling plastic. Not a little different each way, but so that's how we turn old things into new things, right? And that is why it's really important that there are a few rules to recycling, like let's make sure everything is nice and clean, like this yogurt cup, all right? We want to make sure that we rinse it out. That, with the food in it, not acceptable, all right? So we want to make sure everything is clean, all right? And then you can put it in the recycle bin. Not only does nobody want to buy dirty food-riddled plastic, but we have people that are actually sorting this by hand, all right? And we want to make sure that they are safe and that their environment is as clean as possible. So think of it as tomorrow I could be sitting on the line sorting out plastic yogurt cups, and do I want to touch something that's been sitting around for 2 weeks in the recycle bin that's got food all over it? No go, so no food, no drink, just make sure that's all emptied out. Another question I have about what can go into the blue bin is, well, what about those numbers, right? Those numbers mean nothing to us, the people putting stuff in the blue bin, all right? Those numbers are basically a name tag to what kind of plastic it is. Like this drink bottle is a #1 plastic, and it's screaming out, hey, my name is polyethylene terephthalate. And this laundry detergent jug is screaming out, hi, I'm high density polyethylene. So these little numbers on the bottom, hopefully you can see that okay, is just saying what kind of plastic it is. This plastic has a very different chemistry than this plastic, meaning this will melt at 500 degrees Fahrenheit. This melts at like 300 and something, 334 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. So when people are actually doing the recycling and making new things out of drink bottles, their equipment is set for 500 degrees Fahrenheit. This probably will burn up at that degrees. So that's what the numbers mean. You don't have to worry about it. What you need to worry about is it hard plastic, and is it empty and clean, all right? Those are the two biggest things. Disposable, single-use plastics are all we really want in the blue bin. Containers is what we want in the blue bin, and I'm talking just the plastic today, not everything else, all right? Paper goes in there as well. But make sure it is hard plastic. You'll hear it called rigid plastic as well. This is also plastic, but this is floppy plastic. It has absolutely no business in the blue bin. Another rule to recycling is it needs to be larger than a squirrel's head. Don't know how big a squirrel's head is? Well, make a fist. Your fist as an adult probably is larger than a squirrel's head, but bigger the better. If you're not sure, we do offer stickers. So on my reused recycle bin, I've got this fantastic little sticker that is about 2 inches by 2 inches, all right? And that's as big as something has to be in order to make it into the recycle bin. So if this little cap was floating around all by itself. It is not big enough to recycle, which is why we don't accept caps. If you put it in front of the sticker, you can still see that the sticker's peeking through on the edges. That's too small. But if you take that cap and you tighten it down onto the body, boom, then you can pop the whole thing into the recycle bin, and we're on our way to making new bottles, maybe even some carpeting. It's a little crazy out there. All right, so those are the basic rules to recycling. Again, this container, because it is not intended for one-time use, is not allowable in your blue bin. All right, so if it does break up, go ahead and toss that into the trash. All right, I know it breaks my heart too, but we're gonna make trash. There's gonna be things that do have to go to the landfill. Right now, that's one of those things. All right, so we've got ways to reduce, we've got ways to recycle and reuse, excuse me, and ways to recycle. All right. I hope that you guys are adding in your ideas while I'm rambling on, I should say. The last thing that I want to share with you, slide-wise, before I open it up for questions and answers, is, let's share this back again. Again, I'm not like an expert at this, so here we go. Let's see here. Is how to take action. All right. Plastic-free July is pretty cool. I got challenged probably about 2 years ago from one of my good friend teachers at CP Smith. And so she was like, hey, have you heard of this Plastic-free July? It is hard. It is hard for, oh, I didn't share my screen. Sorry. I just realized that. Ha ha ha. There we go. It is difficult to go totally plastic-free for an entire month, but I think that you are up for a challenge. Try it out. Give it a go and check out their website. It's pretty awesome. Plastic Pollution Solutions, that's from the Natural Resource Defense Council. They got some really great ideas on how to prevent plastic pollution. Earth Challenge 2020, if you watched the video that Echo put out on Friday, they did mention this. In the Earth Challenge, you're encouraged to be citizen scientists. Take pictures of the plastic pollution that you come about. I want to challenge you extra and actually pick up that trash, all right? Don't just leave it laying there. Use gloves, obviously. Pick it up, and that rolls right into Green Up Vermont. One of my favorite days in Vermont is Green Up Vermont, Green Up Day. It has been changed to May 30th of 2020, so note that. And check out Green Up Vermont's website. They're awesome, so big shout out to Green Up Vermont. I absolutely love that day. And last but not least, let's take some of the things that we learned today in today's webinar: reduce, reuse, and recycle, and put that out there. And so now I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm recording this, so I will make this whole webinar available for you too, if you haven't gotten a chance to scribble down all of these resources here. So we'll get back to here and we'll see if there's any. There are no questions. Does nobody have any questions? I'd love to hear how you guys reduce, reuse, and recycle and prevent plastic pollution out there, if in fact there are any ideas. So you can use the little Q&A hoopla at the bottom, or I can go through and just unmute you if you would prefer to chat. We can do that. So I can allow you guys to talk if you would like. So I'm gonna be unmuting you, just letting you know ahead of time. So don't, let me see. So allow to talk. And all right, so everybody is allowed to talk if you want to. Ask me any questions.
So Rhonda, this is Noella from Echo, who was the educator behind this project. And I'm really curious, one of the complications I know that have happened in the last year or so with the plastic caps on bottles, if you're putting it through the return machine, you have to take the caps off. But now I know certain waste distributors don't want you to take them off because they've realized the value in it and it doesn't meet that two-inch rule. So they want you to leave them on.
Yeah, so if you're taking them back to the grocery, I've actually never used one of those machines at the grocery store. So I didn't know that you had to take the caps off of them. So yeah, at that point, then the cap needs to go into the trash. It can't go into the blue bin all floaty by itself. However, if you're recycling, say in your blue bin, empty out, make sure the container is empty, tighten that cap back on, and it will get recycled. And that is something new that we learned just by opening up the lines of communication with those folks that are actually doing the recycling, because we're just sorting it out and then selling it to them. And then they were like, yeah, leave those caps on. Even though the caps are a different type of plastic than, say, your drink bottle, because of the chemistry difference, their density differences, and they actually just throw them in some water, and the drink bottle plastic sinks to the bottom, and the cap plastic floats to the top. So they just kind of skim off the top and then sell that to the people that are recycling that type of plastic. So unfortunately, if you have to take the caps off at the grocery store, then they do have to go in the trash. There are some programs that I think it's called Take 5 or something. And I think that City Market might have that program where you can take the caps back there and put just the caps in there, and they send it off to a special place. Thanks.
No, it was one of those things that I knew was happening, and I didn't know all the background behind it.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we always said take the caps off and toss them in the trash until like 2 years ago. And it's amazing what happens when you communicate with when you open the lines of communication. Are there any other questions out there?
Yeah, we hear a lot. We hear a lot about a lot of plastic that goes into recycling doesn't get recycled, about the piles and warehouses. And how does Vermont doing with that? And are we doing better than some of these places that we hear about?
Yeah, great question, Ginger, thanks. So we get this question quite a bit. There has been, PBS put out like a fantastic program about plastic just a little while ago that I watched. And they gave, I want to say it was like a 9% or something recycle rate. That is all of the plastics that have ever been generated or made in the world or in the United States, not necessarily what's going into the recycle bin. There are communities throughout the United States that have stopped recycle programs because much of our recycling, and I say the United States, much of the United States' recycling went to China, including plastic, metal, and paper. In 2018, China cut the United States off. They wanted to kind of clean up their own environment, which you can't say no to that. And they kind of wanted to stop taking our junk. So the United States, like, one of the best recyclers in general, our nation. And so a lot of trash was getting in with the recycling. And so they were like, we're done with that. We don't manufacture much here in the United States. So that kind of shut down all the markets. The West Coast took a really hard hit because they relied on China for much of their recycling markets. We in Vermont, woohoo! The one thing that we did send there was mixed paper. So like your newspaper, junk mail, that kind of office paper, all that. We did send that to China. So that's the only thing that we had to find a new market for, a new place to take it. Everything else we have always recycled, or we have recycled recently anyway, here domestically. And I mean domestically, either in the United States or in Canada. And I've got some information because I thought that question would come up. So currently, let's say, we'll just talk about plastic. So our drink bottles are going to places in Canada or the United States. The number 2 plastics, so that would be your milk jugs and your laundry detergent bottles for the most part, are going to Alabama or Pennsylvania. And the yogurt tubs, these bad boys, so anything basically numbers 3 through 7, are going to a place in Alabama. So we do have domestic markets, thankfully, and we're not seeing that as much. Now, there might be plastic that gets into the recycle bin or into those particular types of plastic that are not recyclable, like plastic bags. So yeah, there are things like that. But for the most part, if you're putting it in the blue bin here in Vermont, it is getting recycled to the best of our knowledge. We've had our staff go and visit the recycling places that we do sell to ensure that that is happening. So awesome question. Anybody else? Maybe I have to unmute you. I don't know. Oh, no, you all are unmuted. So you just have to unmute yourself, I guess, at this point. Any other questions? Is there any questions in the question box? No. All right, fantastic. Well, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope it was educational. I hope you walked away with some ideas. You will get an email tomorrow from me. If you have further questions or you want to chat, got my email address. I'm happy to answer any questions for you guys. So remember, Green Up Day is May 30th. And please do participate in the Citizen Science Take Action project of the Earth Challenge 2020. Check that out. But again, take the extra challenge to actually pick up the trash. Now, when I go for a walk, I always bring a bag with me and I'm just picking up trash the whole time. As any one of my friends can attest to. I always think every day is Green Up Day, every day is Earth Day. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being fantastic plastic pollution preventers. We appreciate it. The Earth appreciates it and all its little creatures. Oh, wait, I got something in the chat box. Oh, you are very welcome. No problem there, Elizabeth. I get all excited when new things happen. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great day and get out there and enjoy some of that sunshine. I know I'm going to. Cheers.